Good morning, my fellow yogic travelers. I'm mighty glad to be alive today, and I hope that you are too. This week we're beginning 5 initiation tales or fairy tales that deal with the feminine as the protagonist. And as with all tales, but certainly with these ones, suffering itself deepens us. It matures our perspective, makes us more compassionate, wiser than we would have been without it, even though nobody wants it, but you can't avoid it. How many times have we been inspired by the wisdom that can only come from dealing with adversity? Yet at the same time, taking in a steady diet of what's wrong, which is always available, you can't see what's filling your cup. You only see what's missing. So a lot of people are cautious about becoming too joyous. Yeah. And they wonder, or I wonder, how often have you limited your joy because of that? It's funny that people don't seem to put a limit on their pain, but they put a limit on their joy. So you can complain if you want to. And one of my friends says every time his mom complains, he says, "Mom, say whatever you want, but at the end, can you say, and my life is very blessed?" So that's an interesting thing to share if you want to awaken joy. Don't put a limit on your joy. And remember that often people don't put a limit on their pain. Now, I'm very interested in helping people look at the relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and the power of positive thinking, and what does that have to do with affirmation in your life, and how can you trust the wisdom of your own subconscious mind, which has the power of know-how. Right? You don't have to assist it. It knows how to accomplish things. So the idea is you got to prime the pump. So thought arouses latency, which is within you, right? Any thought you entertain tends to actualize itself in physical reality. That's the basic idea. Or as I like to say, the law of attraction says whatever you put your attention on, the law of attraction will help to make it more. It doesn't discriminate whether it's worthy or not, like the soil takes in good seed and bad seed. So thought is action, and the subconscious mind is the reaction. So it rebounds, rewards, and repays you through the law of correspondence. So pay attention to what you claim, because that's going to be drawn into your life. And if you want your well-being to be at an all-time high, even with the world being so sad and tragic as it is, then wherever you are, learn to make the best of it. And I'll give an affirmation at the end to remind you how to do this. But remember, the need to talk about issues, especially that are already past, that's what keeps it alive. It enables you to justify your complaint. Let it go. Put your attention into the here and now. And as we get ready to listen to this story, which is called Skeleton Woman, this is how, for the teachers out there, how do you get people's attention? Well, you say lead lines in like this. This is the most important thing you're ever going to hear. I'm listening now, right? If there's only one thing to take away from what I'm about to say, it's this. Now they're listening. All right, Skeleton Woman is a great story, and it's part of a number of other tales that I call Marrying the Not Beautiful. Marrying the Not Beautiful. This is an Inuit tale. Once upon a time, passed down in my tradition, it's as if it becomes night. Telling of a certain kind of story in a certain kind of way with a certain kind of attention. It's as if a certain something hovers over the heads of us who are listening. And by the story's end, we're flooded with daybreak, and a star shard or a ragged thread of stormy sky is left to show that a great something, a great someone has visited us and taken time with us. And whatever remains of whatever is left behind, it's ours to use for the mending and making of life. So the keepers of the old story says, once there was a father who was so enraged with his daughter that he threw her off a cliff, and she got drowned in the sea. The area was like haunted. And one day, when a young hunter who was lonely and looking for a big catch, hopefully he would get some kind of monstrous fish or seal that could feed him for weeks. So he took out his fishing rod and his bone hook, and he threw it over the side and hooked underneath Skeleton Woman's rib cage, because that's what she had become now. Over the years, through the moving of the tides and the various fish and underwater creatures that had nibbled her skin away, she was just left as a skeleton. And when his bone hook hooked under the rib cage, immediately he realized, oh, I got something. Oh, he tried to pull it up, but it was resisting. So he knew this is a big catch. He was so excited. He was so excited, right? Except that he didn't realize what he really hooked, the life, death, life mother. And so he pulled up on his bone hook, and all of a sudden, first the head emerged from underneath the waves, filled with crustaceans and seaweed, and then the rest of the arms came up and the legs came up. And when he saw that was the skeleton, he went, "Aye!" He freaked out. So he dropped his fishing pole and grabbed his paddle, and he started moving and getting his kayak back to the land. But he didn't realize that the bone hook was still underneath Skeleton Woman's ribs. So the Skeleton Woman was flopping like this way and that way on the waves, and he looked back to see her. He freaked out, And then when he got to the land, he grabbed his pole. He didn't realize it was still connected to the Skeleton Woman, and with his mucklucks, he was running on the ice trying to get back to his igloo. And Skeleton Woman was like flailing all over, going back. And every time he looked back, he was and he jumped into his igloo head first, bringing his fishing pole with him, but not realizing that Skeleton Woman was connected to it. So there he was, safe in his igloo. So he pulled out a piece of his hair and he used his flint hulu knife to spark and light a fire, tried to get warm. And as soon as he saw Skeleton Woman was still there. But she wasn't doing anything. She was just kind of all crumpled with her arms this way and her leg over her head. And she looked kind of pitiful. And when he stopped freaking out, he realized, well, she's not hurting me and she's not coming after me. She's just kind of lying there. So I don't know what possessed him, but all of a sudden he felt so caretaking. He wanted to be a caretaker for her. And he said, well, she looks so messed up. So he just went over to her and started to sing a little lullaby. Nanya, 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 Nanya. And he removed the arm from the shoulder and he moved the leg from the neck and he put her this way and that way and straightened her up and said until she was just an upright skeleton. He felt better now, rearranging her anatomy, putting her back in place. And then he was so tired and exhausted from the whole day that he just fell asleep. Now, you know how this happens in some stories like this. While he was sleeping, a tear fell from his eye. And immediately Skeleton Woman woke up and saw the tear. And so she dragged her body. She dragged her body over and put her little lips next to his tear. Oh, that water tasted so good. She sucked up the water. And then she got this rush of energy. And then what she did was, without him knowing it, she reached her hand underneath his rib cage into his flesh and grabbed his heart and pulled it out. And there was his beating heart. Boom, 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 boom. How he didn't wake up? That's what happens in these stories. So she had his beating heart there, and with his heart beating outside his body, she started to sing the renewal song. Flays, flays. And she started singing like this. All of a sudden, skin started coming back on her body. Flays. And then long, long Eskimo woman hair came down, all the way down, braids to the ground. And beautiful, firm, big hips enough to carry a lot of kids. And beautiful breasts that could drop down and wrap around her head twice on a point full of food. And then she put her heart back into his chest and sidled up next to him. And all of a sudden he woke up, and instead of seeing Skeleton Woman, he saw this beautiful Eskimo woman. Oh my God. And of course, what do you think happened? Love play, don't you think? And it was so good, they kept it up for 3 days and 3 nights. And at that point, the hunter and Skeleton Woman went away. And they say that the hunter never lacked for food for the rest of his life, because Skeleton Woman knew all the currents, knew all the creatures, knew where to find food. And so in that way, they were enriched and satisfied till the end of their days. So I think you got to realize in stories like this that we're all thinking that we're just pursuing simple nourishment, but what we bring up is usually more than what we asked for. And obviously, when they talk about the death cycle, or the life cycle, this is talking about the Earth Mother, the Great Mother. And if you really want relationship, you have to make your peace with this particular rhythm that happens in life itself, and certainly in relationship. So I hope that you find safety in the darkness when you bring up more than you bargained for, and learn to marry what I call the not beautiful. So I'll leave you with this affirmation for the day. It's called Creative Genius. I activate the reality I want to live. My creative genius aligns with spirit. I allow the ease that is natural to be, and endless resources align with me. I escalate what works, and abundance flows. I experience immediate, swift, and joyful release. I make the best of wherever I am and whoever I'm with. My well-being is at an all-time high, and so may be yours.